What is going on, everyone? It's not happy times. It's not happy times here in Philadelphia with the Phillies right now. It's been embarrassing. We get swept on the road by Washington. Okay, you'll bounce back. You'll bounce back. You're at home against the Marlins. A swept. It's brutal. And the real question is, who's to blame? Whose fault is it? And I firmly believe that it is a collective issue. There are multiple problems here that are all adding up to one big picture. And that's the Phillies being underwhelming. The Phillies not producing to the level that they should. And we are here to dissect what's the problem. Now, I stated it. Who's to blame? Who's to blame? And I have four problems here. One, the injuries. I think that obviously played a factor. It's not an excuse, but I think it played a factor. Two, the players. The players are not performing to the level that they should. That's a big one. Three, Gabe Kapler. Yes, Gabe Kapler has a role in this. I know the players play. I know the players perform. But I think Gabe Kapler has something to do with the outcome that has been recent. And four, Matt Klentak, the front office. So, we will get into each topic, each segment, and see why that is the problem. Why this is not helping. And all four of those correlate to the problem that is at hand right now with this Phillies clubhouse. So let's go with the injuries. It factors. When Andrew McCutchen went down, this team fell apart. Here was his numbers. .256 he was hitting, 10 home runs at the leadoff position, 43 walks. He was getting on base. He was in that one spot, and he was producing for this club and putting this team in position. I remember there were plenty of times where he starts the game off with a leadoff double. Well, guess what? That run ended up coming aboard. I remember that was a common theme for a little bit of a stretch there with my Phillies recap videos. Well, would you look at that? In the first inning, once again, Andrew McCutchen got on and he was knocked in. His OBP, 378. His OBPS, 834. Losing him hurt this baseball club without a doubt. Then you go to the bullpen, because that was the monstrous issue when it came to injuries. 7 guys on the IL. It went from David Robertson to Seranthony Dominguez, Adam Morgan, our lefty that we obviously put a lot on. And he was very productive for us before his injury. And that one outing he had when he came back, before that, he was outstanding. Tommy Hunter, who never really got anything this year because of injury. Arano, Pat Neshek, who's on the IL every single week. Whenever he comes back, bang, he gets right back on. The bullpen was a problem because then you're throwing out guys that shouldn't be in those positions. But that's all you have. That's all you have. Juan Nicasio getting thrown out there in closing situations. It's bad. Garcia getting thrown in there. These guys aren't good. Ramos. They're having to play these minutes, and they're having to be thrown in these positions where these guys would normally be in. And that plays a role. But that's the one that gets thrown away for me first. That's that plays a factor, but there's other issues that are way more concerning. And I want to dive into the players. And when I took a look at all their stats, I attacked the month of June. Because if I looked at their overall statistics throughout the season so far, it's somewhat skewed. Because at some point we were 10 games over 500 and we were playing good baseball. I want to look at why it's collapsing, why it's going the way that it is. Let's look at the players. Now, before we really dive into their numbers, Bryce Harper as a whole, this narrative that, he's not worth it, that contract sucks, I can't believe you paid him all that money. Stop. That's silly. It's a sport without a salary cap. Why do I have to keep bringing that up? It's a sport without a salary cap. Bryce Harper being on your team doesn't hurt your baseball club. No one expected him to come in here and hit 300 and be this hitting for average guy. Right now, I'll look at his overall stats before I dive into his June specifically. He's hitting .248, 52 RBIs, which is on pace for the highest of his career, 13 home runs, which is very underwhelming, 21 doubles, and he's been walking at an unreal rate. All around, big picture, Bryce Harper hasn't been abysmal. But looking at his June stats, he's hitting .250, only 3 home runs, 11 RBIs, 13 walks. But he has been in the one hole now. He has been leading off. So that changes your mindset as a hitter. He approaches the plate differently, which happens when you are now a leadoff guy compared to fourth, compared to third in the lineup. So keep that in mind. But this narrative that Bryce Harper is not worth it because the Phillies are where they are not where they are because of Bryce Harper. It's not his fault they are where they are. And I always defended that narrative with the Washington Nationals. Bryce Harper can't get to the second round. Even from a Phillies fan, I always looked at that and thought it was nonsense. Since when does one player in baseball change everything to that level? Mike Trout then stinks. If that's the case, Mike Trout is horrendous. He's a bad baseball player because guess what? His team hasn't been in the playoffs. His team hasn't produced in the playoffs. His team hasn't made a run. So he must stink then. Bryce Harper being in the Phillies lineup doesn't hurt him. So the saying he's not worth the contract, you guys wasted your money. It's a game without a salary cap. It doesn't matter how much you spend whatsoever if your team is willing to take that contract on and go into the luxury tax. And his AAV isn't even that bad. I'm not here to dissect this contract, all right? I'll defend it to the day I die. He doesn't hurt whatsoever. But anyway, the players not performing is a big-time issue. It's a big-time problem. Let's look at Jean Segura's month so far in June. Jean Segura's batting .190. This guy was hitting .300. He was getting on base in any way possible. Dinky little ground balls up the middle. Dinky infield singles. Nice doubles. He was getting on all the time in all these various different ways. He's hitting .190. He's not giving us effort. He's even talked about it. This is the worst stretch of his career. I don't think he understands how to handle this. So that's an issue. Jean Segura is an issue. Moving along. Franco's unplayable. Michael Franco is someone who we all claimed was the best 8th-hole hitter in baseball. We can't even use him, and we're at the point now where we're putting in Sean Rodriguez in his spot, or we're putting Scott Kingery there, which means Roman Quinn is playing center field. You want to know what Roman Quinn is hitting so far this month? Oh, that's me almost throwing up. .091. That's the problem. Players aren't performing, but you look at someone like Scott Kingery, who's hitting .315, 6 homers, 12 RBIs. You look at someone like Jay Bruce, .276, 6 home runs, 16 RBIs in this month. They're not the issue. JT's hitting .258, only has 4 RBIs, though. Keep in mind, that's for June. And specifically, I wanted to look at just June, because that's where this was all blown up. Players aren't performing. A couple are. I think Kingery's doing great. I think Jay Bruce, I'll take .276 any day of the week. He went on that hot stretch. He went on that hot tear, but realistically, he's not going to be able to consistently do that all the time and hit these absurd amount of homers for the whole entire season. I'll take those numbers. Reese is hitting .250. I want more out of Reese. I want more out of Bryce, too, by the way. I'm not defending Bryce Harper because he's hitting .250 in June. The players aren't producing. They're not hitting in timely fashion. Do you know how many runners in scoring position we left on base? It's so bad. It's so horrendous. I don't get it. It's been an extreme drop-off. Which brings me to the third point of Gabe Kapler. I know that with baseball, the manager, what do they do really? They set a tone in the clubhouse. They're a personality. They're someone to connect with. They don't go out there and play. They don't go out there and swing the bats. They don't go out there and throw. And by the way, speaking of throwing, I have the pitching to go over as well. But let's go into Gabe, and I'll go to the pitching in June. Because that's been embarrassing too. But with Gabe Kapler, we've seen a common theme now of these players not hustling, not making smart plays. And I'll even date it back to last year. Even though last year's team was a little funky and fake, if you will, we were brutal with standard baseball IQ. Errors. Horrendous. The worst in the league almost. It was so bad. It might actually been the worst in the league when it comes to errors. Just trying to think off the top of my head, remembering all those bad plays. If there was another team statistically worse, God bless their soul. Because it was so bad. But you go to this year, not hustling. But guess what? No one's being held accountable. He's having these meetings. Now, I have to believe that he comes to the meeting, he's Mr. Positivity, and then I have to believe that behind closed doors, he's going in that clubhouse and he's shredding people. He has to, right? I mean, there's only logical way to think. It has to happen, right? There's no way he just allows it. But realistically, yeah, he probably is. He probably is. My mindset says it's impossible, but it is. I mean, these guys are getting away with murder. Gene Segura doesn't hustle twice in big moments. What happens? Nothing. He plays the next day. Now, he hits a homer, so everyone says, see, he shouldn't have been sat. No, we should have been sat, all right? We still lost the ball game. Cesar, over the last couple games. Doesn't hustle to second base. He only gets a single. What happens? A double play ends up happening in that inning, where he should have been on second to begin with. That was a crucial moment in the 8th inning against the Marlins, too, in the second game of the series. There was a play on the Sunday game against the Marlins. He doesn't slide. A double play ball, he doesn't slide at second base. If he slid, he's probably safe, and now it's first and second in that inning, with one out at the time. But nope. He's out at second, not sliding. He dropped the ball for a tag out when a man was going to second after a double in the outfield. Jay Bruce with a cannon to second base. All he had to do was apply the tag. He drops it. But at some point, and I know the manager has to go, I know the manager only does so much and he doesn't go out there and play. But there's a mentality set by the manager. And I also think when it comes to just manager 101 moves, he's still learning the game of baseball. He's still over-managing. He's still pulling out pitchers at the wrong time, using the bullpen, getting too bullpen happy, switching guys too obnoxiously. He still does all that too. So for that reason, and for those two reasons, Gabe Kapler's a problem. And let's go to Matt Klentak. We'll wait. We'll wait to go to Matt Klentak. Let's go back to the pitchers. Zach Eflin's our best pitcher, absolutely. And these are June statistics. 2.21 ERA. He's 1-2, but with the win-losses, I can't even value that with pitchers. It's not fair. It's such a flawed stat. 2.21 ERA. I'll give Eflin a nice little nod. All right, you're not a problem, my friend. You're not a problem. Nick Pivetta, 3.67 ERA, 1-1. He hasn't been atrocious in this month. But I don't know if he's been great either. But he hasn't been atrocious. Aaron Nola, 5.55 ERA. Definitely not good enough. Jake Arrieta, 4.86 ERA. Very inconsistent. One day he's great, one day he's bad. One day he's really great, one day he's vomit-worthy. So Jake Arrieta. Almost a 5 ERA. But here's where it gets even worse, and it's the bullpen. But saying that is a little flawed because Jared Eichhoff had some starts and Cole Irvin had some starts. But speaking of those two, Eichhoff in 3 outings has a 13.50 ERA, and Cole Irvin has a 12.91 ERA. Yeah. Which comes down to our fifth starter option is bad, which ties in with Matt Klentak. Neshek had one outing, 13.50 ERA. Garcia has 6 outings, almost a 19 ERA. Those numbers don't win you baseball games. They don't. So let's tie how it goes back into Matt Klentak. You've seen this team struggle obnoxiously with that fifth starter. And you did nothing. You keep throwing out Vin Velasquez. You keep throwing out Cole Irvin. You keep throwing them out. Now, I know it's hard to make moves before the deadline because teams don't want to give up on their season yet. Other teams are still playing and still in the mix. If they're 500, can they make a run? Do they want to give up a pitcher yet? I know that. But you got to get crafty. You got to do something. You can't continue to throw them out and throw them out there and throw them out there. Because if you wait that long by the deadline, you're not even going to be in the running. You might even be selling. I'm not giving up assets right now. I'm not giving up someone for a rental. The only person I'm going after is someone who can actually help this club for the future, not just this backstretch, not just half a season. Jay Bruce was nice. He's a good piece, and when Andrew McCutchen went down, it was almost like perfect timing that he came here, and he was starting off on this hot streak where he was hitting home runs, and it was awesome. Jay Bruce, I'll give him credit for. But I know that there's other things out there, and it sounds silly that I'm going to yell about Andrew Knapp because he's your backup catcher that only gets so many limited times to play. But Andrew Knapp is so bad at baseball. It's so hard to watch. When he's in the lineup, you laugh. You laugh that he's in the lineup. That's an automatic 4 outs in that baseball game. And I know he's someone who has limited playing time, so it's hard to value that. But it needs to be valued. You need to have someone who can perform better than that. I don't care if he can call a good game or he's okay defensively. You need to upgrade that position as well. And that was coming into the season. Like, you knew that coming into the season, and you stuck with this terrible catcher. When he plays on Sunday afternoons, come on. He's batting towards the bottom of the lineup, of course, and if he's batting just, say, 8th, well, it's an automatic 2 outs at the bottom of the lineup between him and the pitcher. He might as well just go up there and not swing ever. He's bad. I know, not a huge concern in the big overhaul. But looking at Matt Klentak, did he do enough? Did he do enough? And I'll say this, though, because before this all happened, we looked at Gene Segura and say, wow, what a snag. Him and John Middleton ended up getting Bryce Harper. Wow, that was a fantastic move in this offseason. You bring in JT Realmuto, yeah, you give up a big pitcher in your prospects, but you get JT Realmuto, arguably the best catcher in baseball, which I will say defensively, absolutely, when it comes to people trying to steal on him, it's almost laughable. He will get you every single damn time. Did I expect a little bit more at the plate? Yeah, maybe, but defensively, holy hell, is this guy special. But they brought in all these players. They bring in Andrew McCutchen, who was having a stellar season. We bring in these guys, and we claim the front office did great. And now that's going bad. We just ream them. But this is where I will defend the fan base on that. Once you start seeing this team fall apart, once you start seeing this team plummet, that's where you need to pick it up. Once you see this team fall apart to the extreme that they're falling apart at, the front office has to do something. They have to make moves. And not Brad Miller moves. Not moving Phil Gosselin down moves. Make some damn moves. Pick up the phone. Everyone wants to even look at Odubel Herrera. Once Odubel Herrera left, he wasn't a problem. That guy had 1 home run. He was falling apart too. He was almost maybe not to the Franco level, but he was playing like that during his time. He was on that route. Michael Franco almost. It's just unbelievable to see where this team is and look at it from the injury standpoint, the players not performing, Gabe Kapler. Gabe Kapler's at the point where he's kicking dirt on umpires. He is so frustrated and so just going crazy that he doesn't even know what to do anymore. He tried to set a spark. He tried. kicking dirt, screaming, cursing, getting thrown out. He tried everything to spark up that ball club, and they still lost to the Marlins that day because the bullpen couldn't hold up. He's picking lineup cards out of a hat to try and spark something up. There's only so much he can do, but at the same time, I don't think he's doing a great job at holding this team accountable for not playing as hard, for not making smart baseball plays. He's not. He's giving everyone a free pass. The whole screaming for Girardi thing is funny, though. Like, come on. Oh, he's sitting there. He's the one who knows. He's a baseball guy. I just hate that. I hate that argument. Joe Girardi coming in here isn't going to fix all the problems. It's just not. That's stupid to me. That's what that is. But injuries, the players not performing, Gabe, Matt Klentak, it's all collective. It's all collective. They're all doing their individual things that are not adding up to team success. It doesn't mean they're not trying. It doesn't mean they're not wanting it just as bad as the fan base is. They do. I guarantee it, they do. What they're doing is they're holding the bat too tight. They're getting extra nervous. They're thinking. They're overthinking. Because they just want to win and they know how bad the stretch is. And they understand that they went from, 3 games up in the division to now 6.5? They know that. So they're trying too hard. They're thinking too much. They're gripping too tightly. And they got to find a way to get out of it. But I'm at the point now where this team scares me so much with this stretch that I don't know if playoffs are real. I don't. And I don't want you hearing that statement and say, are you kidding me? You even think that this team can still make playoffs? I know we're deep into the season, 78 games in? I know we are. But there is still a lot of baseball left. We're done with the it's early, it's only June. That's nonsense because it's not early anymore. We're in the middle of it. We're in the grind of it. But there's still a lot of baseball to be played. The problem is we're not on pace. We're not on pace to win this division at this point. You're going to need a lot of help. I stated coming into this season, get me to playoffs. I don't care if it's wild card. I don't care if it's the division. Get me in the playoffs. This team has enough to make the playoffs. So it needs to find a way. It has to figure it out. I'm at the point now where are people going to get fired? Like, do you fire people? I just stated that bringing in Joe Girardi isn't going to change the outcome of this team, and I firmly believe that. So do you fire Gabe? Do you fire the hitting coach? Do you fire a pitching coach? Does that do anything? Are people going to start losing their jobs? As much as I make that statement, reality is, if your team's not performing, who gets the blame no matter what? Who gets the blame no matter what? It's simple. The coach does. The coach does in any sport. If your team's not performing, whether it's injuries, the players aren't playing, it falls on the head coach. In this case, the manager. So does that mean they're thinking of pulling the trigger on Gabe? You would have to think if this continues, moves will be made when it comes to people inside the organization, just to make a statement, just to light a fire. It is so ridiculous that we are here at 39-38. We're one game over 500. What happened? Look at Klentak. We had a chance. And listen, I was never a guy. I was never a Dallas Keuchel. Go out and get him. I started out being that way. And then I said, he might be Arrieta 2.0. But at this point, when you're throwing out Vin Velasquez for 5 innings on like a 50-pitch limit, when you have Cole Irvin, when you have De Los Santos, when you have Jared Eichhoff, it's a no-brainer to take a flyer on Dallas Keuchel. Because it can't be worse. It can't be worse than these numbers in the month of June of over 13 ERA. Now, Vince Velasquez has about a 4 ERA, which is... don't even get me started on Vin Velasquez, all right? I'm not going that route. I'm not going Vin Velasquez route. You take a chance. You take a chance on Dallas Keuchel. And he goes to your own division with your rival who's in first at the moment for 1 year, $13 million? I mean, that just makes it even worse. The price tag and the team he went to. It's absurd. The team doesn't have enough at the end of the day, but they should have enough to make a wild card spot if everyone played the way they did. But there's holes. There's holes. There's the fifth starter hole. There's the outfield hole. Realistically, is there a third base hole? That and the center fielder spot goes hand in hand because what's Scott Kingery? And if he plays center field, well then who's at third base? Is it Sean Rodriguez? Is it Mike Alfranco? Or if Scott Kingery does play third, is Roman Quinn out there in center field? I mean, Brad Miller, Sean Rodriguez, they stink. Roman Quinn, they stink. So what am I saying? What am I saying? Do we have the roster to make the wild card? Do we right now? Frustration has set in. And I stated this on my last game recap video. Yeah, I'm frustrated as hell. And I'm pissed. And I'm disturbed. And it has this feeling in my stomach where it's so queasy. But I'm also stunned. I'm stunned in the moment. I'm trying to collect this and gather it in my head. It doesn't seem real. In what world did we just have last year's August in the month of June? Hell, we have the Mets coming to town for a 4-game series. And we have, who's on the mound for us? Zach Eflin, Jake Arrieta, Nick Pivetta, Aaron Nola. Guys who should be capable of winning you baseball games. And the Mets, they've underachieved all season too. And they're a dumpster fire internally. As are we, but we got the Mets coming to town. If this goes any way similar to what we just witnessed with the Washington Nationals and the Marlins, you would have to think that a trigger will be pulled somehow. It's going to kind of have to be. Organizationally, it just has to be that way. Someone needs to lose their job because it's unacceptable. I'm saying Gabe Kapler can't allow Gene Segura to get away with things. I'm saying he can't allow Cesar Hernandez to get away with things. Well, neither can this front office. Someone needs to hold someone accountable. I watched Scott Kingery in the Sunday game against the Marlins hustle his ass off down the first base line to break up a double play to keep the inning alive. That needs to be everybody. Everyone. Why is this such a common theme that this team doesn't want to hustle? You would think now would be the time. You would think now would be the time that it's extra hustle. Because they know every inch matters. They know every single play matters. Every ground ball matters. Every double play matters. You would think that it's to the extreme of hustle right now to get out of the funk instead of this moping around. As if someone's going to feel bad for you. As if the other team on the diamond is going to feel bad for you. Oh, it's the Phillies. They're on a 7-game losing streak. Let's give them one. Hell no, that doesn't happen. Hell no. So they got to pull their head out of their own asses. No one's going to feel sorry for you. I don't know what more of these meetings are going to do. What are they going to do? Clubhouse meetings. Nothing. I've been a part of hockey teams where when things got bad, that's what we did. We had meetings in the locker room. Everyone stepped up. Everyone said what they thought was going on. And guess what happened the next weekend during that series against another team? The same damn thing. Words are words. You need to go out and do it. Is there a leader in the clubhouse? Not Jake Arrieta leader, because that's Bush League leader. Is it Bryce Harper? Was it Andrew McCutchen? Was he the leader? Now, he's a leader where he can have some fun. He's also serious, but he's very well respected. But is he the light the fire under the ass type of leader? Or is he just the well-respected leader who went out there and hustled and performed? I think that's what it was. He's not so much the light the fire under the ass type of leader. I would think that would be Bryce. But for example, when Gene Segura is not running, right now, Gene Segura doesn't run, Cesar Hernandez doesn't run, who on this team is stepping up and saying, yo, let's go? That's unacceptable. I would like to think that's Bryce Harper. You would think so. Scott Kingery's not doing that. Jay Bruce probably isn't doing that as he's a new acquisition to this clubhouse. Is JT Real Muto doing it? Rhys Hoskins? No. Is that where Gabe Kapler steps in? Has he done it and they're just not responding? Well, then he needs to sit their asses. There's so many questions. And it comes back to the major one that everyone is discussing right now. Who is it to blame? And I can't just say the players. Everyone wants to say, oh, it's just the players. That's a portion because they're the ones that go out there on the diamond and swing the bat and throw around. They do. But it's a collective group. The front office has a lot to do with this. The manager has a lot to do with this. The players have a lot to do with this. Injuries play a factor, but that's on the bottom of the totem pole for me because you shouldn't be getting swept by the Miami Marlins because Andrew McCutchen went down. I know Andrew McCutchen's numbers were great this year, and he did a great job at getting on base and hitting doubles and scoring runs. He was big with actually getting brought in and producing runs. I know all that. But losing him, as big as it is, it's unacceptable to go on the fall that you did. You can't get swept in Washington. You can't lose 2 of 3 in Atlanta in a big moment. You can't get swept by Miami at home, the worst team in the National League. I'm scared for this Mets series. Listen, this Mets team, they are all over the place too internally. There's so much breaking in the media, and there was some sort of issue going on there in New York. And listen, if this Phillies team, if they fall to the Mets at home this series in an ugly fashion, just like we saw with the Marlins, we're going to have some trouble. At that point, something really has to happen. I'm telling you, something really has to happen if we fall to the Mets. I can't believe I'm this nervous for the dumpster fire Mets to come into Philadelphia. It's scary. It's concerning. I mean, really, what if we give up, I don't know, another 16 hits? That would be brutal. What if our pitching doesn't hold up? It's like when one thing goes bad, the other thing goes okay. So when we can't hit, our pitching does okay. When we hit, our pitching sucks. Or when our starting pitching's okay, our bullpen's atrocious. And I read an article on The Athletic written about the Phillies. I believe it was Matt Gelb who ended up writing it. And when you look at the Phillies over specific stretches, every time it's something new. And that's terrible because that's showing you that there's so many different holes that are not filled. If it was, for example, every single game, our hitting wasn't there, but our starting pitching was electric every night. Our bullpen was shut down when they had to be. Well, then you knew the problem. Our hitting wasn't good enough. Our hitters were not contributing enough, and it was the same problem every single time. At that point, we would understand the issue, and you can find a way to fix it. But the fact that every single stretch here, it's something new, it's embarrassing, and there's no way to really fix it because there's so many damn holes. That's why I tie back into this Matt Klentak situation. As much as I know he needs to add certain pieces, is there too much to fill? Are there too many problems to try and fix right now with where we are now? I always said this was the season, the 2007 season of the 2008 Phillies. This was the season where, okay, you added some big-time players in the offseason, and you go from there. Not that that's what we did in 07, but in 07 we realized, okay, what we had, and it was a big-time growing season for the 2008 World Series run. Well, I thought this was the big-time growing season before potential runs into the postseason. But we would know what we needed to add this offseason, which would complete, to a deeper extent, a roster that can actually compete. I never expected us to actually compete for World Series, but playoffs. So, as much as I want to rip Matt Klentak, I always think that maybe there's just too much, and he doesn't want to give away too many assets. It's a tough position to be in. Are you close enough for a run? See, with baseball, though, it's if you are close to the wild card, you buy. You buy. It's just what you do. If you're close to a wild card spot, playoff spot, you buy. If you're not, you sell. I feel like we're in the mindset of we're close enough still to a wild card spot, so you got to go out and buy and try and fix at least some of these holes. Obviously, if there's too many, you can't fix them all in one deadline, but maybe you can attack one or two needs and from there try and go as far as you possibly can. It's wild. It's wild to sit here and try and process where this Phillies baseball club really is. Gabe Kapler's cursing to the media after the third game to the Marlins. He's dropping curses. I mean, come on, we're talking about Mr. Positivity. He said, we're not blaming one guy. This is a team. It's not just one thing. It's a team. And you're right. I don't think anyone's sitting here as a Phillies fan claiming that it's one person's fault. I mean, if you watch the sport and understand the sport, you can see our starting pitching hasn't been the same. Where's Aaron Nola been? I mean, really, where's Aaron Nola? Jake Arrieta. I mean, I've been through it already. Our starting pitching hasn't been the same. Our top guys, at least. Our hitting hasn't been consistent enough. Last year, I saw Corey Seidman talk about this. Last year, right now, where we are, Gene Segura was hitting .344. That's not even close to what he's hitting. Same with JT Realmuto, and that's why I feel like at some point, I mean, this is baseball. At some point, the averages end up becoming what they are. If you look at the back of a baseball card and you see JT Realmuto, I'm just spitballing off the top of my head here. I'm not throwing out real numbers, but just say 10 years he ends up in 286. Well, just say right now he's hitting 250. At some point, he would end up hitting 286 because baseball's just a number game, and at some point, your average ends up becoming what it is. You hit your average, all the numbers, no matter when you go through dry spurts or these hot spurts, it all ends up averaging out to what you are in this league. So at some point, you got to think that's what's going to happen with this Phillies team, with this lineup, because everyone, it seems like literally everyone besides Scott Kingery is underachieving with this lineup. And it's insane. It's literally insane. How are we here? How? Also, this team is getting overpowered by the fastball. It's such a ridiculous number. This is another point that was brought up in this Matt Gelb article on The Athletic. At the rate the Phillies are getting overpowered by the fastball, it's atrocious. It's abysmal. It's a huge problem. And he factored in analytics and the launch angles and the hitting coach and how he elects to attack pitches. But with the fastball, we are getting smoked. And I know Bryce Harper specifically is, and he's disappointed in it. He knows because he tinkered with his swing a little bit and he hasn't been getting to the fastball. He hasn't been catching up to it. Do I think he's going to figure that out? Absolutely. He's a pro's pro, and he's dedicated to this game, and he breathes it, he sleeps it, he eats it. I think he's going to find a way. He tinkers with his stuff all the time to make sure he perfects it, to try and perfect it to his best ability. Bryce Harper is a competitor and loves this damn game so much. I think he's doing everything in his power to figure out the speed that he needs to catch up with that fastball. It is crazy, though, because when you look at the pitchers that have been playing the Phillies, and when this Phillies offense gets held to 4 hits, 5 hits, 6 hits, 2 runs, 1 run, we're not talking about Max Scherzer, DeGrom, Thor, Clayton Kershaw, Yamamoto? Come on. I mean, Hernandez? We're talking about these guys that realistically are nobodies. I would at least understand then. Like when we lose to Max Scherzer, sometimes you tip your damn cap. As much as this offense is embarrassing, you tip your cap and say, this guy's special. But what we're seeing with the Marlins? I'm sorry. That can't happen. It just can't happen. So I know I've stated this before, but when it comes to not enjoying. We're not going with the word enjoying, but we're going with the word intrigued. Because as someone who, at the end of the day, covers this baseball team, and it's intriguing to me that they are in the spot that they are now, and I'm intrigued with seeing how they respond. Coming from a sports fan, that's big for me. I like storylines. I live off the storylines, and you can take a look, big picture. Say someone doesn't follow the Phillies every day, and they just see them losing, and they see them falling, but they don't really watch the games and analyze what's happening and feel the storylines and read Gabe Kapler after the game, and they don't really get involved to the level that I am. Well, then you just see a team falling. But being as emotionally tied and being so invested in this team emotionally, I'm intrigued with how this is going to go. That's part of sports. You take a look at the St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup run. If you just didn't know what happened and say, the Stanley Cup Finals, St. Louis won, without understanding that they went from the worst placed team to the best, and it changes everything. If you don't know anything about football and you just see the Patriots win a title and you just see, Tom Brady had a good game, he's the quarterback, so, they did good. But you didn't know how big of a dynasty the Patriots have had over the 18 years? Well, the storyline changes. Everything changes. So with this team moving forward, with the Mets and throughout the division games that we have in this big stretch here, I'm focused on what's going to be the factor that turns it around. Who's going to get hot? Who's going to get fired? Who's going to make a move? Who's going to spark the team? What's going to happen next? Will they ever get out of this, or will it continue and continue and continue? Will they find a way to make playoffs? Will they be like the St. Louis Blues? A team that everyone somewhat counted out because of a bad stretch, and they pick it up and find a way? That's how I'd like to see it from someone who is so tied into this with my heart. It's crushing, though. I don't want to see them lose. It's crushing. I want to see them turn it around. But how will it happen? Who's going to step up? I would have never expected it to get to this point. One thing I saw was, it's better to happen now. This is Twitter, though, so keep in mind, Twitter, and especially Twitter when your sports teams are doing bad. Someone claimed it's better to happen now in June than in August. And that's silly to me. Why? Why would it be better to happen now in June over August? Last year's baseball club gave you everything till August. No matter if you believed or didn't. I had such a weird take because I didn't believe, but I remember specifically saying, I don't know how this keeps happening, but it's happening, so I'm not going to complain. I thought there was just magic involved, and we were just going to make it happen. But once we fell, I said, okay, you know what, that makes sense. But first off, it shouldn't matter when it happens. Whether it happens in June or happens in August, it's just as painful. It's just as pathetic. It's just as upsetting. If anything, if it happens in August, you still have young players, Scott Kingery, Rhys Hoskins, the people that are not veterans, you still have them experiencing more involved baseball, more pressure in baseball, later in the season baseball, which feels a lot different. August baseball compared to May baseball, two different worlds, two different planets. So you get them to have experience. Why would you wish it upon this team to, at least it's June? That's silly logic. To me, it doesn't matter when it happens. If it happens, that's the most disappointing part. But if it was going to happen, I guess I'd rather it happen in August, September, because then the team feels what that baseball is like. Two totally different baseballs. It really is. The mentality, the drainage on your body. At that point, you're playing, 140 games. The mental fatigue, the physical fatigue, the travel. It changes everything. And you would at least want the team to experience that, especially the younger players. But that's just the bad fan at the end of the day. Someone who's feeling salty after seeing the Phillies get swept. One thing, though, that is crazy to me is around the Philadelphia sports markets, this is a huge conversation. What is happening? What is going on? How is this occurring? As bad as that is, one thing for me is the Phillies are talkable. And I know that's laughable because we're talking about them in such the negative, but last year when that all happened, no one cared. It just happened, and the Phillies kind of went away quietly. This team had so much hype, so much promise, so much entertainment, especially early in this season, that we're putting our emotions out there. We're pissed off. We're calling in to sports radio. We're freaking out. Are we firing the coach? Like, the team means something. The organization means something. Now, this logo that I'm wearing on my chest, this Phillies jersey that I am wearing right now, it means something. So the fact that they are this disappointing, it matters. It matters. And somehow I take that away from all this, even though it's so crushing. I take that away. That baseball matters. The Phillies mean something. It's nice in that regards. I know. It's bad that this is terrible, and it doesn't make me feel any better when I sit here and scream my face off. But they matter. And they haven't. They haven't for years. For years. We went through so many summers where baseball kicked to the curb. Kicked to the curb. So here we are. Let's see how this team bounces back. Let's see how this team fights, how this team comes together. Will there be major changes? Will there be someone acquired at the deadline? Are we moving assets? There's so many questions, and it starts really with this Mets series to see how this team performs against the New York Mets, who are a dumpster fire inside. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. They have been a blast, and I will see everyone next time.